leadership of NADECO while he was alive. And I pay tribute to late Abraham Adesanya, who steered the ship of NADECO activities worldwide, globally, both in and out of Nigeria throughout the saga. And I pay tribute to lots and lots of other people like Elijah Kudirat Simbiat, the wife of the winner of the election herself, who also was gruesomely murdered in the afternoon of June the 6th, 1996, thereabout. And I also pay tribute to Baba Mojola, who represented, for those in the category of those who paid the supreme sacrifice in the civil society, groups. Baba Mojola also rose prominently to be equitably, credited. I also pay tribute to lots and lots of members of the civil society, the late Chief Gani Fawehimi, who has also passed, Mr. Femi Falana, who is still with us, thankfully. I pay tribute to even the media practitioners, without which the effect, the impact of the struggle would have been a little bit muffled, because like I said in another recent TV interview on this subject, without the active collaboration and participation of the media at that time, which was the parliament of the people. Don't forget that we were operating under a military regime. There was no parliament, there was no Congress, there was no National Assembly, there was no participatory democracy, no representatives of the people. So the media, the press, naturally and inexorably moved into becoming the parliament and the voice of the people, and aggregating views and opinions and reflecting the disenchantment of the public against the military at the time. So automatically, we were on the front lines, we were on the firing line, and we had our own fair share of harassments, detentions, inquisitions, and all kinds of degradations. And so I pay tribute to the media practitioners of that era, especially those who were on the firing line and those who laid down their lives. And some also paid the supreme sacrifice in the media. People like Bagauda Kaltho, a staff of the news magazine then, and Temple, who was also gruesomely murdered in Kaduna or thereabout, if I'm correct. So I first of all have to pay my tribute, heartfelt tribute to all of these heroes, past and present, and to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who also is still with us, thankfully, who also was, who played a very prominent role in and out of Nigeria at the time, and who at some point abroad was the sustaining force of most of the media men that were harassed and hounded out of Nigeria. And even when he came back, he still was pursuing the ideals of June 12. And I give Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu credit for a particular thing. What we are celebrating today, the June 12 that has been nationally declared as Democracy Day today, was initiated by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 1999 when we got into office. We had a meeting, myself, himself, Rauf was there, Aregbe Shola, and two others, and we deliberated and decided that it was the proper thing to do. Because don't forget that most of us, led by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, were involved actively in the struggle for the actualization of or revalidation of June 12. But as it became fortuitous, we found ourselves in government. In fact, I recall, and I'm making this very public for the first time today, when Asiwaju was sworn in on May 29th, it was a Saturday, so there was no work. So he resumed work on Monday. And a few of us were with him. He had not constituted his cabinet, but we were with him because we were with him from the campaign all through the elections and to his victory. So we were with him in his office. As soon as he arrived for his first formal working day as governor of Lagos State, we sat down and we deliberated. And his very first action or act as governor of Lagos State was to go to the press center, the Alausa Press Center, the Secretariat Press Center there, which was named after some Ibrahim Abacha or so by the previous military administrator. And that was his very first act as governor. And while we were in his office and we decided that he had to do that, I picked up my pen and wrote the speech which he read there in writing, and there was no time to type it then. And we walked to the press center there, and then he renamed that press center after Bagauda Kaltu. And to this day, that press center remains named Bagauda Kaltu Press Center. So I'm recalling all of these things just to enunciate the significance of the activities and sacrifices of the heroes, past and present, to actually underscore the importance and impact that today has, not just for us that took part, but for the generality of Nigerians and the global community, because the agitations reverberated around the world, and the challenges and complexities of Nigeria, of contemporary Nigeria, also go to underscore what Nigeria would have become had June 12 happened in all its entirety. Number one, the philosophy of that impending government. I was one of those who drafted the manifesto for that June 12 election. We titled it Farewell to Poverty. And it was to eradicate poverty in all its entirety, in all its ramifications. And if there were so many strands to it, if that government had happened and everything that we planned had been put in place, we probably wouldn't have been where we are today as a nation. So we must thank Almighty God and those who actively promoted the cause of June 12. Professor Wole Soyinka stands tall as a giant in the struggle. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Commodore Dan Suleiman, late Bobonwo Sisi, and a host of others all contributed to what is currently known as June 12 struggle, and to what we are celebrating today. So I congratulate all of us. I congratulate the Lagos State Governor, his deputy, everybody, his cabinet, all Lagosians, all Southwesterners, all Nigerians, for coming back to that spiritual moment. I did say in another interview that June 12 was a spiritual moment when Nigeria had a national rebirth, because that election broke all the centrifugal forces that divided Nigeria. It broke all the myths of regionalism, ethnicity, religion, class, creed, economic status, whatever. It broke all the myths, and Nigeria attained a spiritual nationhood on that day. It was the freest and fairest election never before witnessed and never since witnessed in Nigeria. It was absolutely violence-free, and I felt that sooner than later, Nigeria will come to realize the import of that day and will come to make it significant in the annals of this country. So I congratulate everybody for being alive and being witnesses to this epochal affair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dele Alake. Thank you for your service to Nigeria, in particular to Lagos State in different capacity, and for the sacrifices that you made during the June 12 struggle in the trenches, and also when you were in exile, to preserve the democracy that Nigeria enjoy today. Not endure, sorry. That Nigeria enjoys today. Thank you so much. Moving very swiftly, we're going to go to our next Goodwill Message speaker. I have the privilege of introducing the special advisor to the President of Nigeria on political matter. He was a former senator in the National Assembly of Nigeria, Senator Babafemi Ojudu. Senator Ojudu, you have the floor, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Dayo. It's my pleasure listening to seen and listened to Dele Alake all over again. He really made quite a remarkable contribution during that period of struggle. I'm so happy and delighted today because we thought it was almost impossible, again, to have June 12 been nationally accepted. Again, through the struggle of all of us, our leaders, the journalists, the government, again, listen to our calls and declare that day a day that is more important than that day that Obasanjo, insisted on holding there. I just do not know why Obasanjo we sat on that day and not recognize it as, having been one who fought against our aspirations and became later the beneficiary of that aspiration and, refused to recognize it. Thank God we are here today. We are happy that, that man who gave all, he lost his life, his wife died, he lost almost all he had worked for, all his wealth, he lost everything. And, what is left is just recognizing that whatever it is Nigerians are benefiting in terms of freedom, in terms of democracy, in terms of the ability to every 4 years go out and vote for their leaders, is as a result of the struggle of Abiola and his compatriots. And as Dele Alake has said, many died in the course of the struggle, many died after the struggle, many are still alive, many are even psychologically injured because some have not even benefited of anything up to now. We made a strategic error when in 1999, the military then opened the space. Many of those who participated in that struggle could not go into participating in the democracy because some of our leaders then were against the agenda of the Abdulsalam Abubakar's government. And of course, those who fought against us, those who even were alleged to have participated in the assassination of some of our leaders, then became governors and became senators and all of that. Many who participated ought to have contested at that time, and probably Nigeria will have been much more different than what we have today. But again, we still thank God for what he did for the country through the effort of, and the guarantee of Bashir MKO Abiola, his family, his
An interim national government left behind by IBB and headed by Ernest Shonekan, a man of Abiola's ethnic stock, failed to pacify the agitators and campaigners. June 12 or nothing, they demanded. Shonekan was forced out of power in November 19 in a bloodless coup led by Sani Abacha, another military general and the first minister, thus beginning another round of agitation.
Sorry, can we mute Oyi Odia, please?
Hello?
Senator, go ahead, Senator.
Declare himself president in a well-attended event conducted in Lagos on June 11, 1994, exactly a year after he got his pan-Nigerian mandates.
Okay, and later.
Yes, one fair take. Yes, don't mind him, sir.
Hello? Do I go ahead?
Yes, please go ahead. Sorry, Arise TV is trying to take the news, and I think something happened from their side.
Okay.
They're trying to stream the event live on their platform.
It is still it is morning in Democracy Day. There's still so much we have to do. We still have to carry on quite a lot of struggle to ensure that we move our democracy forward. Where there is while I agree that there is no perfect democracy anywhere in the world, we cannot rest on our oars. There are quite a lot of elements within the space now who are not democratic. They are just holding public offices. They do not care about the welfare of the people. The welfare of the people was central to the agenda of Bashir MKO Abiola. Very, very central to his agenda. Quite a lot of people who are holding positions at the state level, at the national level, do not care about the people. They do not care, about the plight of Nigerians. We must see struggle against these elements who are in our political space. So those of us who are still alive and are still agile, who can raise our voices once in a while, must still come out to decry these elements who are holding on to power and yet they are not serving the people. It's very sad to know that these are inheritors of the struggle that a man gave his life to, that he gave the life of his wife to, and that many Nigerians died for. We must say, no to all of these elements who are only enriching their pocket, and they are not providing the necessary things that will make a good life for our people. This is my submission. This is my commendation to those of us who are still agile and can still fight. We must insist that something be done about it. The other thing I want us to say is that in other parts of the world, to keep the memory of this kind of struggle alive, they always build museums where a lot of the memorabilia of that struggle, could be kept. We don't have this in Nigeria. Many of the people who are born after that struggle do not even know what that struggle entails. I'm therefore going to appeal to my brother Dele Alake and a number of us who are participating in this program this afternoon, that we need to do something about that. Let us have an Abiola kind of museum, Abiola Memorial Museum. Let us have somewhere where we can, keep his memorabilia, where we can keep the photograph of those who struggled and died for that democracy, where we can keep all of those things that will continue to remind the younger generation of the sacrifices made in the past, so that this time and period in our national life is not forgotten by our children and those who are coming in the future. It is very important. That's the only way, people in other parts of the world keep history and memory alive. And that is the only way we will not forget that this democracy that we are enjoying now is not achieved on a platter of gold, that people suffered for it, people are killed for it, people are locked up for it, people ran on exile for it, people spend their resources for it. So please, maybe perhaps by the time we are celebrating this next year, let us have an idea that something is being done to keep the memory of that period alive, and that we have not forgotten the sacrifice that people have made. Thank you very much.
We're very grateful for your time and for your great contribution. Indeed, we need to keep the message alive. We need to keep the hope alive. We're going to quickly go on now to our next speaker in the person of Mrs. Odumake, Dr. Mrs. Joe Oke-Odumake. Dr. Oke-Odumake, you have the floor, please. Can we unmute her, please?
Yes. The press permits me to observe all other protocols. This is my goodwill message on behalf of Women Arise and Center for Change. Another June 12th is here. This was the day 27 years ago when Nigeria rose like one man, resolved to sweep away military dictatorship. It was a day when Nigerians spoke one voice loud and clear against all ancient chains that held them down. Chains of ethnic and religious bigotry were broken. North and South divide that has kept our people apart even before independence was obliterated. The handshake was not just across the Niger, but also across the Benue and confluence at Lokoja. It was a day where we no longer had mere geographical expression on various tribes and tongues pulling in opposing directions. It was a day age-long antagonism and animosities gave way to unity, cooperation, nationalistic and patriotic fervor never before witnessed on these shores. To quote the words of the assassinated military head of state, General Muritala Mohammed, it was the day Nigeria truly came of age. The June 12th presidential election was the freest, fairest in Nigerian history. It was adjudged both locally and internationally as such. It was rancor-free, no violence, it was peaceful. The day the electorate spoke in one clear voice, the message was, MKO is our man. No one could have missed such message, including even those whose belly ached at hearing the message. So they annulled the election. They could not undo the forces it had already unleashed. The horse had bolted even before it was shown. Because they failed, that is why, because they failed, that is why you and I are all gathered here today. here. Wait, some people made the sacrifice. They paid the supreme price. It has been so throughout history. Men of courage, men and women of history have never been in short supply. Men like Che Guevara, who did everything until death surprised him. Men like Fidel Castro, who cared not about the judgment of the distractors, but boldly declared that history will absorb them. And he did. Men like Patrice Lumumba, who boldly declared as the oppressors were in their seats, the victory of good over evil in SY Belgium Congo, but now independent African nation. Men like Nelson Mandela, who declared without equivocation his preparedness, even up to death, for the emancipation of the people. Thank God, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, we are gathered here today in honor of such a man, one man that declared uncommon courage, valor of vision, and with impeccable sense of history, MK Abiola, in that he carried the same heart as the avatars mentioned above, like the trod, even when angels fear to tread. And like them, he and other June 12 heroes and heroines like him have earned a place in the pantheon of history. Their place in our hearts is assured. Their place in history is sealed. Through them is the saying that when dictators fall a matter, they create many others in this place. When men carry the same idea in their hearts, nothing can separate them. Not prison walls, not even death. Oh yes, the tree of liberty watered by the blood of tyrants and martyrs. So while the tyrants are consigned into the rubbish of history, the martyrs like June 12 martyrs, we are remembering today and honoring today, have their names and memoirs etched in gold. This is the object lesson for those in positions of authority today and those yet to come. The only part of honor is to continue the struggle until total victory is won. The labor of our heroes past must never be allowed to be there. I dare say it is now. I'm so optimistic that victory will be certain. Finally, I want all of us, as we listen today, that the only befitting memorial we can give MK Abiola, who paid the supreme price, we can give to June 12 heroes and heroines, all those who died that their names were not mentioned, is for us to imbibe the ideals that they lived and died for. Aluta continua Victoria Asada. Thank you. God bless Lagos State. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Solidarity forever.
Thank you so much, Dr. Odumakin. We're very grateful for your contribution and that of Mr. Senator Ojudu and Mr. Dele Alake. Moving forward now, to change the perspective a bit for us, we have the chief host of today's event, an extraordinary gentleman, an impact maker, a trailblazer, the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu. Mr. Governor is going to address us now and take the conversation in a different part, and then we'll continue with the rest of the program. Mr. Governor, sir, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much, Dayo. I think it's good afternoon to everyone. It's very exciting to see over 600 participants already, and it's still counting. I want to give kudos and greetings to all of our senior citizens in the house, my egbons that have taken time this morning to be part of this conversation, all of the audience, both in Lagos, nationally and internationally. I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of this glorious event. I want to commend and also appreciate the earlier speakers. You can see the spirit of June 12 still with each and every one of them, from Dele Alake to Senator Ojudu, to, of course, our Dr. Odumakin. You can see the vibrancy and the struggle still in their vein. And that was what June 12 actually truly stands for. But sitting here today as your governor, the 15th one, with all sense of humility, I think is also important because of the sake of the wider audience to also take the perspective, like Dayo said, on a different trajectory and talk about the history about democracy in Nigeria. Because like what we've said, what are the lessons that we've learned from the past and also shaping our future. It's no news that Nigeria is going to be 60 by October 1st this year. And so what it means is that we've been on this journey as a nation in the past 60 years. A lot of people too might have forgotten that we actually did start in 1960 with a form of democracy, at that time. I think it's important for the younger people to know and to appreciate that when Nigeria, the independence of Nigeria was handed over, it was actually to a seemingly democratic government at that time, which had the three regions in place, given the election of 1959, going into 1960, when we took over the democracy, which was when we had the era of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, we had the era of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and we had the era of the Sardauna of Sokoto, Alhaji Ahmadu Bello, all of them, of course, of blessed memory then. And moving forward, after the three regions that we had at the state, it was only Lagos that was a colony of Lagos, at that time. And moving on, we knew that we became a republic in 1963. That republic brought about a bit of contraption. And I think all of the political parties at that time had different alignments, and I think there were some people that broke away from NCNC that time. There were fractions that broke away from Action Group at that time. And there was some realignment. And I still remember from the history book that Sir Tafawa Balewa was the prime minister, whilst Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe still remained as the president of the country. So at that time, for the benefit of even some of us that were not born and the larger, younger audience that we have, that was a form of a parliamentary democracy that was in existence at that time. But of course, we knew that by 1966, the military had taken over. And so the military were in government up until 1979. And so it was in 1979 that we started what we now see today as a presidential system. In 1979, saw the birth of the Second Republic, which ushered in late Alhaji Shehu Shagari. And I think then there were 5 political parties that were in government at that time. And I think also at that time we had 19 states in the federation. Of course, Lagos still remain as Lagos. Lagos, by some examples, is still the oldest state till today, because Lagos has been in existence since 1967. Every other state in the country have been broken down or have been broken into 2 or 3 other states. But Lagos continues to remain as one state. And so you can imagine how tiny Lagos was then and how tiny Lagos even still remains today. I think it's important for us to let our participants also understand and appreciate, what has been the trajectory and attempt of democracy also at that time. So moving on, so that democracy there, which we call the Second Republic, unfortunately too was truncated after four years and 3 months, and so by January 1st of 1984, I think, the military also took over again after spending only 4 years. So only 4 years and 3 months, because they had done a re-election that we thought that they were going to be on again. So, but that didn't happen until we went back into military era from 1984. And moving on up until when we now had the Third Republic, which was where the birth of June 12th and the struggle also started. The election from 1992 to 1993 were elections that had seen that were completed state assembly. There were elections that were completed state governors. There were 2 prominent parties at that time, the NRC and the SDP. There had been elections that had been completed for the National Assembly. And so we're just waiting for the presidential election. At that time, the famous June 12 of 1993, which all of the previous speakers have spoken to, which now truncated that entire Third Republic process. Of course, to say that when that election was annulled, some contraption that looks like a quasi-democracy. The elected officers, the governors, the House of Assembly, the senators were left on, but we did not have a democratically elected president. So 1 or 2 months after the June 12th, we had Shonekan coming in an interim unconstitutional government, at that time, and he also did not stand, the test of time. I dare say that our national leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which a lot of people did not know that he was once a senator, was actually a senator in that 1992 election, which they were waiting to receive their presidential candidate, which will have been Chief MKO Abiola at that time, but it never be. So we had everything working, before the truncation of the June 12, 1993, because all of the other arms of government had been elected and they were seated. And for us in Lagos, if people to remember, was the tenure when we had Sir Michael Otedola as the elected governor of Lagos State at that time. And the history, knew that they held on for some time, I think for like a year or so before the military also came out. And so the history of June 12 started, understanding and appreciating that there was a full government, there was a full electoral process that had started, right, where houses of assembly had been elected, governors have been elected, House of Federal Assembly have been elected, both as the House of Representatives and Senate have been elected. We were just waiting for the presidential election to come in and have MKO taking over presidency, and everything was truncated. And so that set us back as a nation. And so you can understand, for the benefit of the large audience, you can understand the passion, at which my earlier speakers had spoken, because they were part of the people that were younger Nigerians at that time, because if you take 27 years out of all of their ages now, you will know that they were very, very young, at that time. But they were part of the struggle that pushed, for what all of us are seeing today as democracy. And from 1999, I'm happy and excited that, sitting here as the 15th governor, we have witnessed my election is the 5th election. So we have seen election that has now happened back to back in the country, and we're in year 21 of truncated, aborted democratic process. So we need to give credit, to the people that has ensured that democracy has come to stay in our country. We need to give recognition. We need to continue, to talk about the struggle around June 12, 1993, and why some of us are in a full elective position today. It was because of those struggle, that had happened. Because like I did mention, if what had been the trend before, from the First Republic, where we had the first form of democracy, to the Second Republic, to even the third that was truncated, this Fourth Republic too might have also been. But we thank God that we've seen 21 years counting of uninterrupted democratic process, and we're believing that Nigeria and democracy in Nigeria has come to stay. And so that's why I'm truly excited, and I'm impressed with the array of speakers that we have here today. And I'm believing that it's really not even for us. It's more of the millennials, it's more of the younger people in the audience, for them to understand and appreciate what exactly was June 12 about, what's exactly where the conversations, that led to the struggle pre and post of June 12, and being able to tie it to the democracy that we see today, and explaining to all of them, because now we know that in our population, over 60-65% of our population are still age 35 and below. So that audience, that population needs to understand and appreciate what has been the trajectory, what has been the history thus far to where we are now, and why June 12 has become a corrective narrative, a very strong one for that matter, and everybody that needs to have been part of that history still talks about it so very passionately. I remember the days very, very well. As a young man, I was in banking industry, very well. I remember. But one thing also that I cannot forget was that by the first anniversary of June 12, which was in 1994, which was when we had the total country lockdown, of strike and all of that, I was rushing my wife to the labor room then, because it was also on June 12, 1994, that I had my first baby. So while we're agitating on the street of Lagos, because I remember it was a day in which the whole Lagos, the whole country were shut down, which was the first anniversary in 1994. I was rushing from carrying, running with the struggle, but still had to rush down to hospital to ensure that I was able to catch my firstborn, who we also christened Moshuda, because she's a female. We cannot call her Moshudi, so we call her Moshuda after her birth, and it's my first daughter, Mudupeore, also a June 12 baby. So for us, even for me personally, it's a moment that it's embedded in our family, and it's something that we'll continue, to celebrate. I want to thank all of us for being part of what it is that we're celebrating today. I want our younger audience to actually understand why it is so important for successive government and for Nigerians to realize and to appreciate that the struggle that all of us are enjoying today, the democracy that all of us are ensuring that we do not miss it and we do not truncate it, where, the sweat, and very difficult one at that matter, of some other people, where people even lost their lives, had to leave the country for several years, and we cannot continue. We cannot thank them enough. And so as your governor, I can assure you that the tenets of democracy will ensure that it continue to live. The ethos of democracy will continue to make it our guiding principles. It is the greatest good for the greatest number to ensure that the sacred ballot that our citizens have given to us, we hold it with the highest level of responsibility, and we hold it with the highest level of commitment to ensure that that's commitment that we've given to our people when they elect us, that we not throw it away. We do not compromise the tenets, and ensuring that democracy is about governance for the people and by the people, to ensure that your people must be the front burner of whatever it is you are. And it is really the vulnerable, the voiceless amongst us that cannot speak. That is the whole essence of democracy. And as your governor sitting here today, that is what I've signed on to. Those are my commitments to all of you. And I keep saying, and I'll continue to work it and ensure that nothing will stop us until we achieve, a democracy that we truly have looked forward to. I want to thank you, and I want to yield the floor back to the moderator for other speakers, to have the floor. Thank you very much for the honor you've given to Lagos State today. Thank you very much. Tayo.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. Very moving speech, and I believe that all the emerging leaders who are listening have been inspired, either those who are in the Zoom or those who are watching on television, Arise TV, and also those who are watching on YouTube. Right now, I'm going to give the microphone to one of Nigeria's most celebrated vocalists, who is an amazing singer and has a message in a song, A Great Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Timi Dakolo. Can we unmute Timi Dakolo, please? Yes.
We stand as a people with one song and with one voice. We're a nation undivided and voice. We will stand and build our land. Faith to defend what is ours. Here we are as a people with one heart and for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom reigns and the roots prevail. where there's hope for us all. Our land, where there's hope for us all. We'll we believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll defend the land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds. And one day we'll shine like the sun. What a great nation. So we are many people, different tribes, in different tongues. We're united in our strength and resolve to uphold the honor of our land and for generations to come. And for generations to come. We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll defend our land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds. And one day we'll shine like the sun. What a great nation. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there someday. Can somebody say, it's a we believe in this nation, Nigeria, and the promises she holds for us. And someday we will shine like the sun. Oh, from the north, south, east, to west. Somebody say, join us. And if you like, so we are we'll be fine. We believe, I know you do so, yeah. Nigeria stand up, Nigeria stand up. Joy saying that, what a grace, what a great nation. Oh.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Timida Kolo. Nigeria is indeed a great nation, and working together, we would be able to build the Nigeria of our dreams. Right now, we're going to move on because of our time to our next goodwill message. We have here a very popular Nigerian, a renowned journalist, publisher of Vision magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Basharu Dele Momodu. Please, can we unmute Basharu Dele Momodu, please? Thank you.
Yes, Your Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, I like to describe Lagos as the heart of Africa. Dayo Israel, am I on? Your Excellency.
Yes, you are on, sir. I can hear you, sir. We can all hear you.
Okay. The Governor of Lagos State, Lagos, the heart of Africa, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, all the distinguished people in the House, good afternoon and happy June 12th anniversary. Let me start by congratulating Lagos State government for putting together this very unique event. It's been very, very impressive. And I must salute the organizers for a job well done, because I know this is very new to our client because of COVID-19. 27 years ago, on this day, we conducted, and as far as I'm concerned, we concluded our best election ever. But unfortunately, some powerful Nigerians who are more powerful than others colluded and aborted the completion. Or let me even say murdered the completion, because we had already concluded everything was done. Of course, this led to a very fair struggle. The winner of that election, who was our boss at Concord Newspapers, Basharu Moshood Abiola, went through hell trying to reclaim his mandate, but it never happened. He was joined by so many distinguished Nigerians who fought tooth and nail and tried everything humanly possible, but we failed. He eventually lost his life. And as they say, the cliche, the rest is history. Now, I won't bore you with any story or any tale of what happened in between. But I want us to look forward and ask ourselves, what lessons have we learned, if any? I'm not sure that we've learned many lessons. I believe that the military is still largely in control in Nigeria. If you look at 1999, when we returned to democracy, the first beneficiary, President Olusegun Obasanjo, was a retired military general. Very soon in 2007, he handed over to President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, who was a brother of a retired military general, Major General Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. And just by accident, we had President Goodluck Jonathan. And thereafter, we had another retired military general, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, who took over from him. So we can still say that it's like a relay race between the military and the civilians in Nigeria. The lessons I want us to take from June 12th, and anyone who claims to love June 12th, is that moving forward, it should be possible for any Nigerian to aspire wherever you come from, whatever part of Nigeria you come from. You should be able to aspire peacefully and have your dreams realized if you win an election. Because on June 12th, Chief Abiola was not so much a politician. He aspired, he joined a party, and he contested against Alhaji Bashir Tofa, and there was no problem. We didn't have to bring out the soldiers, despite the fact that we were practically under a military regime. there were no quarrels anywhere, and he won his election. So I'm hoping that moving forward, Nigeria will be able to replicate that election. That for me is where I stand. And I pray that all of us who are here will promote that ideal, because that was an ideal election. Thank you so much for all the deliberations today. I'm proud to be a part of it. And God bless Nigeria. God bless the good people of Lagos State. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Basharon Dele Momodu, for your kind contribution. We're going to go to the panel section now, and please stay around, Basharon. I also hope that Mr. Honorable Alake is still around, and also Senator Ojudu, because we're going to go to the panel session with three amazing, dynamic, young African leaders. And so once in a while during the panel, we will jump up to you and seek your opinions and thoughts, Basharon Momodu and all the other speakers, including Mr. Dumaki. Mr. Governor, we may come for you as well. Can I please have? Okay. Okay, sorry. Can we unmute Dele Momodu? I think it's saying
then I'll
something.
come back. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, I think he has another event and he will come back on. Yes, so can we unmute Seun Onigbinde? Seun Onigbinde is the Chief Executive Officer of Budget, and Seun does a lot of work in ensuring transparency in the budget management of Nigeria, both at the federal level and at the state level. We also have on the panel Yemi Adamolekun, the CEO of Enough is Enough Nigeria, and we have, of course, an amazing guest on this panel, the daughter of Chief MKO Abiola, a light to many young ladies in the world, a mentor and inspiration to many, Dr. Mrs. Hafsat Abiola Costello. She would be joining us as well on the panel. Can we unmute Hafsat Abiola, Yemi Adamolekun, and Seun Onigbinde? Sorry, while I think Professor Shoyinka's people are calling. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, I think I see Hafsat now. Hello, Hafsat. How is Brussels?
Good. Very quiet.
Absolutely. Happy June 12th.
Happy June 12th, Dayo.
So let me start from you, Hafsat. How do you feel about today, and what joy or what kind of feeling does the fact that June 12th is now Nigeria's Democracy Day? How does that make you feel as an Abiola, someone who is not just a fighter or played a role in the struggle, but a daughter of the winner of the June 12th election? How does that make you feel at this period?
I feel deeply honored. I feel all my family, we feel honored by today. I've been getting emails, text messages from people, everybody saying Happy Democracy Day. And, when President Buhari made the announcement, it was beautiful. But receiving all these messages, it just makes everything seem so special and real. At the same time, I'm concerned about the direction of the country. I'm also concerned about the direction of the region. I've been thinking to myself, where did
Sorry, Hafsat, can I interrupt you for a second? I think Professor Shoyinka is ready for us. So if can I interrupt you? He had to come out of a meeting to join us.
No problem.
Can we try to unmute Professor Shoyinka, please? While we're trying to unmute Professor Shoyinka, I want to recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Interior, Alhaji Rauf Aregbesola. Thank you for joining us. Yes. What name is your Zoom name? Yeah, what's Zoom? What's the name of your Zoom?
That your prof is on, just unmute him. That's it.
Prof, we can see you, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Hello? We can hear you, Prof. Thank you, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Thank you for joining us, Professor Wole Soyinka. It's so great to have you here join the Lagos State Youth Webinar. Prof, I think we have an internet
Raise the
connection.
volume.
Yes, we can hear you now, Prof. Thank you, sir. Prof, we can see you, sir, and we can hear you.
They want you to speak. They said you can hear you.
Oh, yes. You want me to say something? Oh, okay.
Yes,
hello,
sir,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you, sir.
Are you able to hear me better?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we know.
Problem. Yes, we said we can hear you and we can see that.
Okay. So just 1 minute. Okay. What I'll do is, I think I assume I know what you want, but just repeat your question.
Okay, first I wanted to say thank you for coming out of your other meeting to be able to join us today and for being part of this. A lot of young Nigerians are watching on the Zoom and also on YouTube and other platforms. And we wanted to you to take the opportunity, sir, to speak to us your thoughts about what we're celebrating today, June 12th, and your message for young Nigerians who are watching in this season and how we should be able to carry on the torch in this particular season. As the new leaders of Nigeria.
So you want to speak to them?
Yes. All right. Well, I think from your email, I think I have an idea what you like me to deal with, to take care of, and I have a very simple message. I'm not a prophet, and therefore I will not speak about what the world will look like after COVID. I leave that to the scientists. Obviously, there will be some marvelous scientific innovations which will carry over from the way we have learned to cope with this particular manifestation. But what concerns me really is the human lessons that we derive from that affliction, especially on a day in which we are celebrating independence, liberation, democracy, etc., etc. And that is simply eternal vigilance. We must be very careful and watch that people, because they're there, very cynical, people do not manipulate this idea of democracy in their own interest rather than in the interest of the people. And most especially at a critical time when humanity appears so helpless, rather from where?
We can hear you, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
And I'm sorry, you see, this technology of yours, it's marvelous technology, but when it doesn't work, it's painful and frustrating. For instance, you keep breaking off, so I don't really grasp what you know. So I'm just speaking generally because I can't really, focus on the hardcore of what you're saying, what you want.
Yes.
And so I'm just speaking in general terms.
Yes, sir.
And I'm in my forest where reception is not very good.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me right now, sir? Prof, can you hear me? Nee, can you hear me? Nee, you would.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
The young people would like to hear Prof's message for Democracy Day. How do we, as young leaders, carry on the baton into the future? How do we, as young people and young leaders, carry on the baton from where each generation is has worked up to?
Prof, they want you to talk to the young ones. How do we move ahead as young people, passing the message of the democracy that we are celebrating today, sir? that as young people, how do we?
Young people, so you want me to address young people?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've addressed young people so often, I didn't have anything new to say to them, except to remind them that this is their world and to stop being coy and unadventurous. It's a lesson, it's a message which I always have, especially whenever elections come, that young people must stop thinking that they cannot beat the old people, the older generation at their game. The older generation, many times, in most cases, do not have new ideas. They're still living in a different age from the technological age, for instance. And it's essential that young people utilize their, what might call modernistic skills in looking at their society, and their priority is to think how to modernize their society. Let me give you a very simple example. I was on a program just a few days ago, and we were talking about COVID and what is required of people, to master and overcome this, protect themselves. And say, okay, you say people should wash their hands, marvelous. Sanitize their hands, marvelous. Under running water, marvelous. But is there running water? And those are issues which I think young people should tackle. Are there the facilities, in case, even without a crisis, normal facilities? They should start thinking, how do they ameliorate the condition of people who are living 9 people to 1 room on a floor where there may be about 10 families, in the same conditions? How do some people obey what I call the COVID protocols when they have to use only 1 toilet among themselves? And they must make up their minds that they have to do something about it, mobilize themselves any way they want. If a political party, fine. If just a movement, a social movement, a political movement, ideologically driven, fine. But they must organize and take back their own country.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you so much for your time, sir, and for the sacrifice that you have made to our generation. And we wish you the best of luck and happy holidays, sir. Thank you so much, Prophet. God bless you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Moving further, thank you so much. Let me go back to Dr. Hafsat Abiola. Young people, Prof said young people. Thank you so much. Prof said young people. Can we unmute Hafsat and Shewoni Gbede and Yemi Adamoleko? That young people must stop being unadventurous. And he said something, they must not stop organizing. I had a conversation with you a few days ago, and you talked about the fact that young people must learn to organize. What would you have to what Professor, what is your perspective to what Prophet had said?
I think that sometimes we forget that the June 12 struggle was about addressing poverty in Nigeria. The campaign slogan that my father had was that Nigerians would say farewell to poverty. And we still have poverty across Nigeria. And we actually have more people in poverty, perhaps because we also have more Nigerians than we had in 1993, but also because we've not been able to put in place an inclusive economic system. So there are 2 kinds of challenges that are before us in Nigeria. And when I follow social media and the comments of people in Nigeria about what's going on in the country, I'm often concerned that we're too narrow in our focus. We look at Nigeria, but Nigeria exists within a larger context, in a larger continental context, and a global economic context. And I think that we need to start to wage the battle as Nigerians on behalf of Nigeria, on behalf of Africa, globally. This is what my father did. He was a Pan-Africanist that was engaging on all these issues, pushing an agenda for Africa and for Nigeria. And we need to return to that. We need to challenge the neoliberal ideas that have been largely invalidated by global, all over the world now, so that we can actually have inclusive growth. We're not going to have inclusive growth when we allow capital to just run through our countries unregulated. We're not going to have it in Nigeria. And with every decade that we continue to allow for that, we will have increasing and deepening poverty. So my message to the Nigerian young people is not to lose faith. The whole continent is really looking to Nigeria for leadership, because we have the self-confidence that is very rare. Many African countries lack that self-confidence. Nigerians have it. And so we have that self-confidence, and we need to now exercise our leadership responsibly. We cannot be looking at Nigeria. We cannot just look at our political leaders. We need to look at the global terms of trade. We need to look at global rules and challenge them, because they're not structured to help Nigeria or any of the countries in Africa. We need to challenge them more effectively than we've done, because the fact that we've not been able to challenge them as well as we should have is why we are in this economic situation. And in fact, the more I think about the June 12th annulment, I would think that we need to also look at the annulment as a signal from the people that have been benefiting from our country. And when we say this, we often think of Nigerian people, generals and such. I think the people that have been benefiting from Nigeria and every country in Africa are not even here on the continent. So we need to understand the global challenge that we face and take it on. Now we have no excuse, because we don't really need visas anymore to make our voices heard. We have the internet, social media that is unprecedented access to the rest of the world. The world is now saying Black Lives Matter. And if Black lives are to matter, it has to matter in a country of 200 million Black people. It has to matter in the largest Black populated country in the world. And the fact is that when the killing of George Floyd is one of a long line of killings, including the killing of my mom, the killing of my dad, but even before that, 400 years ago, how many tens of millions of Black people died? Because we're looking for resources to build the new world. So I think that we need to be aware of our challenge in its historical dimension and take it up and actually move for victory, because June 12th was about an election, yes, but it was also about reclaiming our voice in the economic policies that shape our lives. And that aspect of our struggle, yes, we got a democracy in 1999, but the aspect of our struggle that has to do with inclusive growth, we still have to wage that battle.
Thank you so much, Haftar. Let me quickly jump up to Yemi. Yemi, you lead a movement, you lead a movement of young people to fight and understand the right as citizens of this country. What do you think are the lessons that this generation needs to learn from the movement of that June 12 was and the struggles of June 12? And what should we be doing as the emerging generation?
Thank you, Dayo, and all protocols duly observed. Hafsat, great to see you. I think really, primarily, is really at the heart of the power that we have as citizens. Auntie Jo spoke very passionately about the belief and what the June 12 elections and the campaign meant for Nigerians, speaking about a candidate with one voice, and sort of not looking at where he was from, ethnicity, and the different parts of the country, which we've seen amplified significantly over the last 27 years. As Hafsat was saying, if you look at social media, people is a new thing. At a point, the hashtag "We're all Biafra." Then in the last couple of days, it was Northern Lives Matter. So that whole segregation of where we're from and trying to find voice and trying to find a space within this country also not only narrows our focus to Nigeria, but also speaks to our sense of belonging in Nigeria. And I think George Floyd's death and the Black Lives Matter protest also anchors something very important. And I'll read a quote from Nelson, ascribed to Nelson Mandela. "The world will not respect Africa until Nigeria earns that respect. The Black people of the world need Nigeria to be great as a source of pride and confidence." And I think that's really very key, both in terms of postulating what we want as a country and as a continent in terms of global economics, global place, being able to stand tall because of who we are and what we possess. So I think the lesson definitely from June 12 is a clarity of purpose, a clarity of not only purpose, but then power. Because there was a belief that MQ Abiola represented something and people rallied around his message, believed in his message. I mean, one of the things we talk about in my team a lot is the interesting bit that 1993, he was ready to debate, and he did. There was a debate We fast forward to 2020 or 2019, our leading candidates don't want to have a debate. And so we fast forward, I don't know, 26 years, and the whole idea of being able to sell your message and have it be challenged is something that we're running away from. So really at the heart is what we call the office of the citizen. So the office of the governor, the office of the president are all offices that are subject to the office of the citizen, because without citizens, there will be none of those offices. So we elect them, we vote them, and we should hold them accountable, and we should, in understanding what it is that we're advocating for as June 12 represented, be able to, I guess, be proud enough and be clear enough that this is what we want as citizens of this nation. And as Prof quite aptly said, it's organizing. And in his own words, it says, the man dies who keeps quiet in the face of tyranny. And if we haven't achieved social justice, which we haven't, then there must be a place where all of us lend our voice to that fight. Yes, we're in a democracy, but what does that democracy represent? If at the very base, if we say democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. So the people and their voice must count in how government works for them and in how the leaders they elect are accountable and speak for them. Thank you. And oh, sorry, last that, I think it's also quite significant sort of generationally. So it took 25 years, what is popularly considered a generation, for June 12 to be recognized as Democracy Day. So we're 27 years now. And a lot of people don't understand June 12. And I think there's a responsibility, and I think it was Mr. Ojudu that spoke about the museum, to let people be able to go into a museum and experience, be able to read words, audio, and experience that journey of, oh, this is what this is about, this is what it means, both for that time, the generations before it, and the generation where we live now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yemi. Sorry, I'm having to juggle a lot of things at the same time. I'm going to come back to you with another question. But before I come back to you, can I bring in the essay to the special advisor on SDG to the governor? And then before I ask Sheon his question, Sholakwe here. Can we unmute Sholakwe Hammond, please? Ms. Hammond, Yemi was just speaking about, ensuring that citizens understand that this is about us. Do you think that young people are actually ready? Do you think that they are aware? And what do you think are the hindrances? And Sheila, I'm coming to you before I, let me hear from Sheila.
Well, I think we can clearly see that young people are ready. And I think young Nigerians have always been ready. All our fathers who spoke before started all their activities while they were very young. I think in a sense, perhaps they hadn't had, and I think everyone's had, there's always a struggle, there's always a period of struggle. And so it doesn't come easy. It's not like you agitate for something and it takes a year. It takes a long time. And maybe young people of today need to listen to what Professor Soyinka said in terms of you have to be bolder. I think that was, if I take that today, was that we have to be bold. Too many of us are waiting and saying they don't let us, they won't let us. But we need to take the tools that we have, as Yemi has said. We have the media, we have global connections, as Hafsat has said. We don't need to wait for permission. We need to take the platform ourselves and act. The other thing I would say is too many of us tend to act individually. And if there's another lesson from the Black Lives Matter movement, it's the fact that things are only happening now. Companies are only changing now because everybody's coming together and working together in their own individual corners. People are challenging their CEOs. I read about the CEO of Adidas who has now committed, I think, $30 million or $12 million to the Black Lives Matter movement. He didn't initially do that. There are companies that are even banning their employees from acting. But when someone calls them up, and especially calls them up in public, then immediately the tone changes. They start to ask the people who are of color amongst them to react. It's the same way we should do as young people. The last thing I would say is we need to study. It's one thing to agitate and feel the frustrations, and frustrations have always been there, and they're there in every country. Even in the countries that we think are the most advanced or the most democratic or the most well-developed, they have agitations and frustrations there as well. But one thing I think we also need to do better as young people is not only work together, but also study. One of the questions I started asking people about 15 years ago was, how many of you have read the Constitution? If you Google the Nigerian Constitution, it's right there on Google. Any search engine, it comes up first one or two things. But very few people, I had never met anyone who read them, who had read it. except maybe lawyers. So we should understand our history, understand our laws. We're agitating for things that we might even already have. We're agitating for things that we might need to understand the process for changing. We're sometimes agitating for things from the wrong place. So maybe you're fighting the federal government for something you should be addressing with your counselor, and so on and so forth. So if we study the processes more, get involved with governance and engage our people, the more we engage, the more we'll be able to come to solutions together. So that's it for me. Happy Democracy Day.
Thank you so much, Sholake, Special Advisor and Investment Lagos State. Sholake was talking about the fact that we don't need permission, but the reality is sometimes poverty plays a role in this. And you are in the financial in the sector where you manage and monitor government fiscal policy and implementation. How does the impoverishment of the people, systematically or unconsciously, how does it play a role in citizen participation?
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. And it's a real honor being here, considering the work, the memory that we honor and we celebrate today. Also, I would say all protocols duly observed. I would stand with saying June 12th is a day of a lot of introspection. We need to think deeply about the ideals. And like Hafsat said, it was about the single word, poverty. We needed to say no to poverty. And if we're going to be able to action that kind of process, we need to push, we need to get the government to do much more. I mean, a whole lot of people are asking those questions. Public resources are not infinite, they are finite. So we have to optimize how we use public resources. A whole lot of waste happen in public resources, and there's no way we are going to be able to strengthen participation in public office, strengthen citizen participation, if poverty is still a big issue in the Nigerian space. So my own idea is, let's optimize public resources. We don't have enough of it. Our revenue is weak, it's poor, but we need to do much more in optimizing public resources, which comes about procurement. How do we do procurement at the federal level? How do we do procurement at the state level? How do we do procurement at the local government level? Revenue collection. The revenue collection only goes to benefit a few, because the ideas of June 12 around a working society, a society that works for all. I mean, we can all look back today. Today in Nigeria, you're thinking we need to balance Muslim, Christian, we need to balance the northern and the south, and we always put in those agitation. And you might think it's only at the national level, it even comes down to the state level. Oh, it's our senatorial district, it is senatorial district, and things, it's a Christian, it's a Muslim. But we could see two candidates, both of the same religion, and Nigerians were able to rally around them just because they believed so much in their cause and how much the kind of power and the kind of change and development they could bring to Nigeria. That speaks a lot. The Nigerians just want their lives to be better. I mean, people talk about, oh, we're Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. Yes, those things are there. But the biggest tribe in Nigeria is the tribe of poverty. The poor people of Nigeria are the largest tribe in Nigeria. So we need to find a way. How does the society that we have, how does it work for them? And that also comes across in the things that public officers do. I'm going to say an example. For example, we'll be having conversations around, the Lagos State House of Assembly and a lot of funds being spent, being published, and it did for long. No one said a single word about, okay, this is the situation of things, because people must understand public office is a position of trust, and is a place where you need to make sure that that trust is managed and it's provided, it's shown in a way that you are not abusing trust. And that's, for me, is what we have missed in this democratic system. From 1999, look at how many governors have been hauled to jail or are facing prosecution. Look at how much we mismanage, how the mismanagement in the last 20 years. So we're of 21 years in terms of either we're wasting petroleum subsidies, either procurement was overvalued. We have not made Nigeria work for people. We've only made Nigeria work for a small political elite. And that's why the gains of June 12, the agitations of June 12, the anger of June 12, the pain of June 12 still resides with us till now. So for me, I mean, clearly ending it is just to look at how poverty, has risen from what we had in 1993. Now we have, and by MBS, we have 82 million people currently in the poverty bracket. Those people are poor because we have not provided them the right tools for productivity. We have not efficiently used public resources to work for them. And that mentality and that reason must sit with people in public office, that public resources must work for the people. The mentality also must sit with the people that they must pay their own taxes and they must demand effective work from government. And that comes back to what Prof said, eternal vigilance on both sides, on the side of the government, on the side of the people. We must continuously pay attention to the public space about how the public rights are protected, the rights of the majority, the rights of the minority are protected, and how public resources are efficiently used. That's my own point about this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Quickly, let me come back to Afsat. Afsat, how do you think that young people can work together with the older generation to shape the future of Nigeria?
That's a very good question, Dio. But I find it very hard to answer. You know, I think that Uncle Wale said it best, that the young people should not wait for permission, because the nature of the system is such that the politicians are all fighting for their space. And if young people are waiting for them, the politicians will not, most of the time, 80% of the time they're struggling among themselves, and then 20% of the time, maybe they're trying to work. I know that Your Excellencies in Lagos State, the governor and deputy governor are doing a much better balancing of the demands of politics. But from what I've seen, politics just takes up too much time. So young people should not be waiting for politicians to carry them along. I think the lady that is the essay on SDGs, what's her name? The essay on SDGs.
Sholakwe Hammond.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Your Excellency. Ms. Sholakwe Hammond was I think what she said is very good, that it's very important for young people to be organized. When I think of His Excellency, the governor of Lagos State and his deputy, they're veterans in politics and they're there to serve, everyone can see. But the truth is that the demands on people in office are very strong. And if you really want service from the politicians, you also have to be making the demand, because your presence making those demands as young people gives the leaders some kind of ammunition. So they will say to the vested interest that, look, there's no way we can do what you want because this is the demand from the people. You know, the better organized we are to defend our rights, the more able the politicians that want to serve us will be able to serve. So we shouldn't think of it as, oh, we have bad politicians in Nigeria. Actually, it's a dynamic between the people, the followers, and the leaders. So I would say to young people, organize. Nigeria needs an inclusive economy. The money that Lagos State has, that everybody is always celebrating that Lagos State has, that is so small compared to what Lagos State can have. We should work on building the wealth of Lagos. There's still so much to do. Organize yourselves into different areas of solutions. Like Ms. Hammond can even lead on this with the SDGs, because the SDGs is a global plan. So she can take each of the SDGs, and young people can take each of the SDGs and organize around that. What do you want to do around decent work? What do you want to do about education? All the different areas of intervention, take it up as an area of organization, and then engage the government. Let the government know what your ideas are, and then the government will tell you what's possible, and then you start carrying it out together. When the government does it, you check, you make sure that political hangers-on don't hijack it. The fact that you are there monitoring and evaluating will strengthen the hand of the governor and his deputy and his team to protect your interest. So I think that if we're looking at problems from just the domestic level, I would say that the key for young people is to organize. But I say, do not look at your problems as just a Nigerian problem or a Lagos problem or a Nigerian problem, because it is not. There's a global structure that is in place that is not meant to serve Africa, of which Nigeria is one of 53 of the 54 countries. So we have to fight for greater space within that larger global economic system. And the better we agitate at home for policies that protect our interests globally, the better able our leaders will also be able to engage globally to protect our interests. So I want us to really understand what is going on in the world. We always talk about Nigeria, the corruption in Nigeria, and yet when you look at all the other African countries, do you not realize, do you not observe the fact that so few of them are getting ahead? Is it that they're all run by corrupt Nigerians? No. So I think we need to understand that the larger dimensions of the challenge so that we can put in place an effective response.
Thank you so much, Hafsat. Very grateful for that. We're going to make the conversation a bit more interactive, but before we go further, I want to bring in the wife of the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and also the Chief Executive Chairperson of Omnia Strategy, all the way from England. Please welcome Lady Cherry Blair. Cherry.
Hello, everybody. How nice to see you all, or at least some of you in any event on this, and to say I was able to catch some of that discussion and really enjoyed listening to the young people, particularly the young women I've heard speak for the heart. And let me echo what the last speaker said. Yes, this is your country, organized for sure, grasp the opportunity, and the politicians will be forced to listen to you. Many of them already do, as the governor himself and the deputy governor, but more would do so if you organize and find your voice. But I was asked to say just a few words to you about particularly how women and youth have a contribution to make. And it's a great honor for me to be here on this Democracy Day. So why am I talking about Africa? Because obviously, I'm obviously not African. But you know, the funny thing is I have had a connection and a real love and passion, which goes back, particularly for Lagos, to when I was a child, because way back in the 1960s, my grandfather was a steward on the Elder Dempster ships that sailed from Liverpool, where I grew up, down to the ports on the west coast of Africa, ending, of course, in Lagos. And he would come home with strange food and wonderful stories about this amazing port and the amazing African people. Now, you don't need me to tell you that Africa is this continent of diversity, of beauty, of talent and opportunities. And yet, as your last speaker said, it doesn't seem to be realizing its full potential. I didn't actually come back to Africa or go to Africa myself until my husband became Prime Minister. But ever since then, I have been drawn to the continent and to Nigeria in particular. And it was actually the inspiration of Africa that led me to set up my own foundation. I was on a visit to East Africa with my with the World Bank, and the idea of the Foundation for Women Entrepreneurs was born on that trip, because I met so many great women entrepreneurs in Africa, and I realized that if they were given the tools to be able to grow their businesses, then they would be the drivers of the economy. And so the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women has delivered projects across Africa, but I have to say that Nigeria is a priority country for us. And of course, Lagos, sorry, Abuja, is the center of that. And my law firm, Omnia Strategy, also works in a range of cases and projects for governments and private investors in Africa. And of course, even more so, I am proud to be the independent director of Dangote Cement. So I am lucky enough to visit Lagos at least 6 times a year, and I'm only sad I won't be there this month because of the travel restrictions. And so you know more than I do how much progress has been made in the last 21 years since democracy was restored, but you also know, even more than I do, that we're not there yet and a lot more needs to be done. So what is my message to you? My message to you is it is essential that those in power listen to the voices of women and young people, that we open up the organs of power to women and young people so that they can bring a diversity of thought and experience to the economic and political life of the country. And I know you, Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, recognize that, and that's why we've got this virtual meeting with the youth today. And I see that there are over 600 people participating, which is an amazing opportunity which just goes to show how technology can reach out to people who might otherwise not have been able to come. But I wanted to say a little bit about the role of women in all this, women and young girls who are already making enormous contributions to the Nigerian economy in businesses, on farms, as entrepreneurs, as employees, and of course by doing the unpaid care work at home. And yet too often their contribution is not recognized and their voices are not heard in the corridors of power. But it's clear to me that with the right support, women could not only make more of their own talents and potential to improve their own status, but contribute even more to improving their communities and the economies. As for young people in general, boys and girls, young men and young women, their contribution is essential. We know half of Nigeria's population are under 25 years old. And the young people, as we've heard today, they want to be and they have to be more empowered to create the future that they want. And we need to set up mechanisms to ensure that they do have the opportunity to promote the things that they care about and to also contribute to national unity, national prosperity, and to make bold changes to redefine their future. Because at the moment, their future is just not good enough. So I would share with you a little call to action. So this is 3 areas, I think, that perhaps my contribution can help you think about for inclusive growth and participation. Firstly, the power of changing norms and stereotypes. All of us are subject to bias, not just men, but also women. And we need to be aware of that and work to unlearn the stereotypes we hold and the powerful impacts these can have. And I'm not just talking about gender bias. There's also age-related bias. And as someone in my 60s, I hope you'll forgive me if I say that I absolutely welcome the respect for elders in Nigerian society, which isn't always reflected in my society. But as a mother and grandmother, I also recognize the need to respect the fresh minds and energy of youth. So all the wisdom is not held by the elderly. Young people too have their own perspective, their own wisdom. And for too long, their voices have not been heard in the same way as the older generations have been heard. And yet, you know, we have stereotypes of youth apathy and detachment from politics. Does that lie with the youth? The question is it something to do with the system? But the system can be changed. And we've seen that by the signing into law of the Not Too Young to Run bill in 2019. I'd love to see younger faces within all levels of politics in Nigeria. It's essential, however, in that the voices of the young girls and young women are heard, and that the voices of women in general are not drowned out in that debate. And so we have to specifically target programs to recognize the structural biases which do silence the voice of women. My second message is the power of education and skills. Many young women and young people in general have great ideas and ambitions to become successful entrepreneurs, but they're held back by the lack of access to education, the lack of access to continuing education to develop broader business skills, and a lack of confidence. So investment in business skills development and training for women and youth is a surefire driver for their economic empowerment and one of the smartest moves an economy can make. Did you know that educated women are far more likely to enter the workforce to earn higher wages? In Africa, a single extra year in primary school translates to a fantastic 10 to 20% increase in women's wages, and the return for secondary education even higher. That's why I'm so pleased that my foundation launched several years ago now in Nigeria our Road to Growth program for women's business growth, which we've spread all over the world, but it started here thanks to sponsorship by ExxonMobil. And it helps women boost their business knowledge and skills and gain access to the financial institutions and markets that they need. And I just wanted to tell you about one of the great successes of our program, who's a young woman from Lagos. Chioma Nkona has a business called Recycle Points. It's a waste recycling and social benefit venture that motivates consumers to recycle by creating value from their everyday waste. And I know from my frequent visits that the governor too wants to do more to clean up the city, and this is one contribution to that. By 2019, having been on our program a year or so before that, she created about 60 jobs and has built an app with over 8,000 recyclers registered on it and about 230 waste pickers. And I was able last year, when we were at the UN General Assembly, to introduce to the governor's team, Chioma, and I know that she's been delighted to work with them. In addition to that, again, across Lagos, across Nigeria, we have piloted and spread our Her Venture app, which provides practical business training in 5 to 6 minutes pieces for women small business owners. Skills training is so important because even if you've missed out on schooling, that doesn't mean you can't catch up with learning on the job. And this is vital for the nation and the companies to succeed and provide a better tomorrow. But to do that, again, we have to work closely with women and youths. And finally, my third point is the tremendous power of networks. Networks, peer-to-peer networks, encourage women and young people to set higher aspirations for themselves, to plan for growth, to embrace innovation. And so we have seen that with our Road to Growth program, which made a big difference, increased the women's profits by 31%, but more than that, link them with each other. And as one woman said about that, if you're facing any challenges or you need some contacts, you just say it, and your sisters come to your help. We call ourselves sisterpreneurs. So networks, sistership, brotherhood, these are the things that can help you achieve your aims. It's also important, of course, to seek out mentorship and coaching, and a network can help you very much for that. All of you have a key role to play in the economic and political development of your country and of your state. We can actually all influence, be game changers and trailblazers in so many different ways and in so many different parts of the economy. If we believe in ourselves, if we get the support to find our voice, and if we work together as individuals through our workplace and our networks for more transparent governance, for more opportunity for all, and for the vital inclusive growth, so that the wealth, the undoubted wealth of Nigeria is shared around in an equitable fashion. I've been hearing you speak. I'm very encouraged by hearing what you said. I know the future is in your hands, and Nigeria's success as a progressive, thriving, and sustainable country depends on the people I've heard speak here today, and on all its young people, and of course, all its women, young and old, getting involved and taking their true part in shaping the nation's agenda. Together, we can shape a better, fairer world for everyone. And that's why today's event is both significant and important. I expect great things from it. So thank you very much for allowing me, someone who isn't African, to make those few remarks. And I wish you all the best in the rest of your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cherry. Thank you so much, Cherry. One of the main takeaways for me is open the space of power for children and young people and ensure the voices of more young people and women are heard in the corridors of power. I'm going to hand over to His Excellency, Mr. Governor, Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, to just give a response. Mr. Governor, sir.
Well, okay, so that's on the spot. Blair, nice to have you again, Cherry.
It's lovely to see you again, Mr. Governor.
You gave me all the advice during election and early part, and thereafter you've just left me to continue to swim on my own. Right? You used to check on me each time you come into Lagos, you know, and you've just abandoned.
Don't worry, I will again.
Anyway, thank you very much, you know, for creating the time, and it's an honor to have the array of speakers here. I mean, Hafsat, you know, Yemi, all of you. Sheung, thank you so very much. Really just to say that, I mean, part of the things that we are doing as a community is committed to is the power of women, and at the risk of sounding, very modest, we're the only ones that have a population or the percentage of women in our cabinet as compared to any other cabinet in the country, and also have younger people. We have strategic positions that are held by under 40 in our cabinet, about 4 or 5 of them. And in fact, 2 of them are leading this conversation here today. I mean, 2 persons somewhere. Sholakwe is there. And by the way, Dayo is also with us. Dayo is in the board of our early school children, Subeb. So and that's the strength that we believe as Lagos State we need to continue to do. Sheung with Budget Eat, we're giving them all of the support that we require. Each time they ask us for one thing, I said to my people in economic planning, we need to be transparent. We need to have that office of the citizens, as Yemi, as she has rightfully said it, and Cherry is just to say that all of the nice things you're doing all around Africa, we actually did appreciate, and collaboratively we are identifying to see. In fact, our Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, which is also headed by a very young lady, has a lady chairmanship, has more lady in that board, and we deliberately had said to them that we need to do all our interventions, ensuring that at least 50 to 55%, have female-led companies. These are some of the things that we had set out to them. Not that we don't like the boy child or we don't like the men, but the words have been said before that if you give a woman all of the powers and all of the economic powers that they require, not only will they be building their family, but they'll be building a nation. So it's critical for us to make sure and ensure that that's how we continue to lead our government. And I want to just yield the floor back to Dayo to sort of like continue to bring this to an end. So he just put me on the spot because
Your Excellency, why I did that was because I wanted to create a chance we have a lot of viewers, over 600 Zoom alone, and then we have another couple of hundreds on YouTube and other platforms. So it's important that they also understand the fact that some of the things Cherry raised, giving women a voice, that you have led in Nigeria in that regard. You have a cabinet full of women and people in different areas of government. I just use that I put you on the spot to give you an opportunity to tell that good news to all our listeners and of course Cherry as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Governor. Thank you so much, Cherry, for your time and for your contribution. Let me move on quickly to wrap up the panel session. I'm going to give all the panelists the opportunity to wrap the final statement. Where do we go from here? I'm going to start from you, Sheung Onigbede. Where do we go from here? June 12th is gone. We're now in a new democracy. We're trying to build the Nigeria of our dream. Where do we go from here? So I'm going to come from Sheung. I'm going to go to Yemi, and then to Amsat. Of course, we'll hear from Dr. Joe Dumaki, and of course, Senator Juju before we then wrap up. Please go ahead, Sheung.
All right, thank you so much, Dayo. I will start with number one. We need to look at civic rights. We need to protect civic rights in Nigeria. June 12 was about giving people a voice for freedom. I mean, when I mean civic right, the poor, the less privileged, those who are challenged, we need to put social justice in the plans that we put forward as a state. And this is what I'm talking about when we look at indigenous people and maybe they are in waterfronts, or maybe they're in places where they do not have some form of legal documentation too. And we know that this has been their livelihood. We need to have a sense of a humane face to governance. And I'm not trying to maybe say the governor is doing something or other. I'm just trying to explain that it is a pattern that I see beyond Lagos in the entire part of Nigeria. It's easy for the government to say, oh, we don't want to negotiate with the strong, but when it comes to the weak, it looks like a lot of times they just find a way to just put them aside and make them invisible. The second thing I would say about our democracy is also development. I mean, people will tell you that democracy does not guarantee development. Democracy is not enough for development, but it is sufficient for development. We need to show that this society or this environment, this kind of system that we have, what can actually work for the people. People look forward to government to give them, to make sure that power works. They want to see that the roads work. They want to see schools in quality state. They want to see, and I'm happy that you are in the early education program. They want to see health systems work, primary healthcare systems work. We want to see that local councils work. So we also must put development at the center of our democracy beyond protection of civic rights. The further thing is, for me, is transparency and accountability. And I'm happy that the governor mentioned it. And I have to commend that compared, I won't say the governor has ticked all the boxes, but compared to the previous governments we've been engaging in Lagos State, the government of Babajide Sanwo-Olu has shown a much more promise. And I think we need to go much more on that radar, which is much more transparency, much more accountability. Let's make the budgets public. Let's improve the procurement system. Let's adopt open contracting principles. Let's audit properly. Let them show that we are public service is about sacrifice, it's about service. And we are squeezing all we can to ensure that we can free more funds for the people, and we can ensure that the society that we have actually works for the people. Security is also very important. I mean, we can't go anywhere about this without a much more secure space. And it's about that mentality that the rights of everybody, either you're male, female, young, old, anyone you are in the system, you need to have a sense of security. And I think what we have as insecurity in Nigeria now is a symptom of the dysfunctional state of Nigeria. It's just because our socioeconomic indicators are extremely poor. We are grappling with insecurity.
Thank you, Seun.
We hear things around 1 million boys. We hear things around. We need to also build a much more secure society that works for the people. The rights of people are.
Thank you, Seun.
It's more transparent and accountable. Thank you so much, Dayo.
Thank you so much, Seun. Thank you. So we can all keep our remarks brief, so that we can, we still have a few things. We have His Excellency. I keep saying Excellency, I'm sorry. Mr. Governor and Deputy, I think we should stop calling them Excellency. The Deputy Governor and also T.Y. Bello is also standing by as well. Now let me go on to Yemi Ademolekun. Yemi Ademolekun, your remarks. Can we unmute Yemi? Bosun, can we unmute Yemi?
Sorry, Dayo,
Okay,
I'm unmuted. I didn't hear your question.
Okay. Yeah, so your final remarks, where do we go from here?
Thank you. I think, again, just to reiterate the importance of thinking globally, even though as we focus on our local issues. But I think ultimately for us to have relevance on a global scale, we must take ourselves seriously locally and understand that whatever the dynamics are shaping the world economy, we need to take our stand within Nigeria and amplify our voices. Secondly, power of citizens. I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough because from everything from voting to the policies that we have to our quality of life, we have the power in our hands to make Nigeria the country that we want. It's not in whining, it's not in dreaming. Yes, we talk about the Nigeria of our dreams, but really the Nigeria that we see is the Nigeria that, in a sense, we've created with our minds, not our dreams, but our minds. And by that, I mean in the words that we say and in our actions. And it's not just about government. Seun alluded to taxes as well. It's obeying laws, it's doing what we need to do, taking personal responsibility, but also realizing that with personal responsibility, when we take it, it becomes much easier to then hold those who we've elected accountable in that space as well. At EIA, we say one thing. We say if you take your 5 fingers, your thumb is the only finger you have that can touch your other fingers very easily. All the others will struggle to do it, but your thumb does it very gracefully. And if you see yourself as a thumb, those who have access to information, who have access to education, who understand what it is that we should have and what we want, find others in society and begin to build and organize. And that's all it takes. Don't think of it in terms of organizing 100 or 1,000 people. If you organize the 4 people that you can, and then think about the exponential impact of that when each person then finds their 4 people and educates them. And I think lastly, I wanted to speak to opportunity in a crisis. It's a global pandemic. It's affecting Nigeria in different ways depending on states. Subnationals are taking different steps. Lagos has led in sort of setting the pace for other states. But I think we could do a whole lot more. And I think that ties to a bit of what Seun was saying in terms of social justice. I mean, data. We don't do, as a country, we don't keep data, from election data to citizen data. So this is a great opportunity for us to harness the data that we can, both from the pandemic, but also from citizens and where they are in relation to that. So where are poor, where are they living? Those who are starting businesses, those who are working, our tax base. For example, Lagos now is taking data on those who want to be opened. That's a fantastic way, tied to the pandemic, and even understanding where our businesses are and what they're doing. But beyond that, then using that data to plan effectively for the benefit of Lagosians. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hafsat, where do we go from here? How do we begin to organize? Sorry, give me a second. Let me unmute you. Hafsat, sorry. I had to. Okay, go ahead.
We have to, first of all, let me just say to the people of Lagos State, embodied in the person of the Mr. Governor and Mr. Deputy Governor, from the bottom of my heart, let me just say thank you. Thank you for standing with my family. Thank you for standing with June 12. Lagos never faltered. Lagos never failed. People in their hundreds of thousands across Lagos stood and fought and went on strike and died and were jailed. Many names we will not know, and Lagos carried the burden of this struggle. And when after the return of democratic rule, everyone had forgotten, everyone set the issue of June 12 aside, Lagos single-handedly carried this issue and re-engaged the Southwest. So for that consistency, let me just say thank you on behalf of my parents, on behalf of my family, on behalf of all those that fought for June 12. And to the question that you asked, Dayo, what next? Next is that we hold on very tightly to people like Barrister Sherry Blair, and we don't let her go. And we hold on, we say, help us open the doors, help us so that we can have access to the kinds of support that we need to build the future. I used to live, as Yemi well knows, I used to live in China in about 12 years ago. And when I was in China, I saw that the Chinese miracle, a lot of it is also global partnership. It's not just the Chinese doing it on their own. They are remarkable, but they've been able to pull the world to invest in China. And Africa and Nigeria will need that kind of investment, long-term investment, patient capital to help us build our economies and to help us go forward. So I'm so happy that Barrister Blair was with us. I hope she's still with us and she can hear my appeal that we would like the solidarity and the partnership. We need not the kind of capital, the predatory capital that just comes and strips and extracts, because Africa has seen enough of that and we cannot build with that. We need the small and medium scaled enterprises from Europe, from England, that will build with our people, build their technical skills and actually leave something behind and not just be extracting and exploiting. And so for young people, the young people should use the social media to change the narrative about what's happening in Nigeria, what's happening in Lagos. The Vice President has said that because of COVID-19, Nigeria is in danger of losing as much as 40 million jobs before the end of the year. You will all agree with me that the country cannot in any way afford that. And Lagos will be a key part of our ability to have an effective response. Lagos can change that story by how it puts in place, how it enables SMEs. So I would love for the governor and the deputy governor to figure out how they will work with young people, how you will replicate the investment promotion agency that you mentioned and the employment agency that you're driving, to see that we can actually absorb people and get them decent jobs where they can earn a decent wage. The truth is that if we get to where the VP, the worst case scenario that the Vice President has painted, I don't know that the country can have continued peace and stability. The country will likely fracture in that kind of scenario. So we must all do everything that we can to avert it. So I think in closing, I would just like to say that when Nigerians united around June 12, even in the face of a brutal regime, and Yemi was involved in that struggle, Your Excellencies were involved in that struggle, so you know the story well. We were able to finally surmount the military administration and restore democracy. United again, there is nothing we cannot surmount. So whatever we need to do from Lagos to continue weaving the threads of unity across the nation, let us do it. Let the young people drive it. Because if you've looked through the history of Africa, Africa has always been subject to exploitation because we were so easily divided. United, we are strong. Divided, we do not stand a chance. And Lagos, being one of the most enlightened spaces on the continent, has a responsibility to move us forward together.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hafsat, for that touching and moving contribution. I wish we had enough time because I was going to speak to you about a lot of other things, but I'm sure there would be more time in the future. Let me quickly go to our leaders of today. Let me say the mentors, our elders who are also in the house. Let me begin with Senator Babafemi Ojudu. Senator Babafemi Ojudu, what is your final comment and where do we go from here? How is your generation going to work? And the same question goes to Dr. Otumaki and Mr. Dimomojo. I'm coming to you as well. How is your generation going to work with us to ensure that we shape Nigeria together? Because this has to be an intergenerational collaboration in finding lasting solutions to the challenges that are beleaguering our generation or our country.
Well, again, it's about education, and remembering the labors of our heroes past. We need to get acquainted with our history. I mean, that is lacking so much in our society. And that was why I said earlier on that, we need to have an, MK Abiola museum or June 12 museum so that we can remind our young ones of the need, to study our history, to get themselves acquainted with it so that they know the challenges they are bearing. Thank God that we have the Lagos State Governor and the Deputy Governor here. I'm throwing this back to them. Please let us come together and establish a museum to where we can gather all of the memorabilia, all of the things that younger ones can go and look at, so that they can remind them of, where we are coming from, where we are, and where we intend to go. I will also see this opportunity to thank those who have governed Lagos. From the foundation builder, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and all of the governors for what they have done for our democracy. Lagos is very lucky that they've had it good. Some of us from other states have not been that lucky. We are still grappling with trying to build a foundation for a better society. But we are glad with what Lagos has done so far that all hope is not lost. Whatever you may say, there's been a big leap in Lagos. We just hope that our other governors will look up to Lagos, learn a few lessons, and then let our people who struggle for this democracy have some benefits. It's important that we empower our people. It's important that we take them out of poverty, out of the squalor they live in. It doesn't make sense that you govern a place and you want to fly around in private jets and own houses everywhere, while your people are suffering from all manners of diseases that have been eradicated in other parts of the world. It's not good enough that you are living a lavish life, and all the classrooms and schools in your state are dilapidated. The hospitals are nothing to write about. We should take a look at Lagos, study what has been achieved there, and let's learn from them, particularly those of us from Southwest. Even the parts of the country that we used to refer to as underdeveloped have now overtaken us. Go to Borno State where there is insurgency. Look at the development that has taken place there in the past 6 years. Go to Kaduna State. Look at the investments that are coming to Kaduna State, and in a long time, Kaduna will probably rival Lagos in development. So we need to do something. We in the Southwest, we are living on the past. We're living on what Awolowo did, what some people have done in the past. It seems that we are regressing in the Southwest. Something has to be done. But for the achievements of Lagos, Southwest will have be something else. So it's good that we are doing this. Let us remind ourselves of where we are coming from, what necessitated, Abiola to give up all that he had and offer himself as a sacrifice for us, for our present and for our future. It is important that we have concrete things that can remind our younger ones of that sacrifice. Let's have somewhere where we can take, our juveniles to, where we can take our, primary school students, secondary school students, university students to. Let them hear his voice. Let them look at him climbing into Black Maria. Then they will know that they have responsibility on their shoulder, to keep hope alive, as this man told us many years ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, distinguished Senator Babafemi Ojudu. Very quickly, let me move on to Mr. Dele Momodu, Basharon Dele Momodu. Basharon Dele Momodu, your final comment as we wrap up. Can we keep it under 2 minutes, please? Can we unmute Basharon Dele Momodu?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Let me start by thanking the Lagos State government for this initiative. I have really enjoyed myself thoroughly. Now, the points I want to leave us with are the following. 1, Chief Abiola stood for farewell to poverty. Farewell to poverty. So how do we say farewell to poverty? Senator Ojudu spoke about education now. But the idea I have for education is the type that I've seen growing in Ghana at the moment, vocational studies. Since the state government is here now, I think it is not compulsory that everybody must read law, everybody must read philosophy or whatever. Let's invest heavily in vocational studies, because it is so bad now that if you want to build a house in Lagos, you have to go and bring artisans from Togo, from Ghana, from the Republic, when we have so many able-bodied men and women roaming the streets. So we need to invest quickly and urgently. We need to upgrade a lot of our institutions into universities that can give us awards in vocational studies. That is very important. Then, in the area of democracy, is that without good governance, you cannot have anything good in the country. So we need to urgently, find a way to make sure that elections are free and fair. That is the biggest thing that happened on June 12th. Are we convinced now that we have free and fair elections in Nigeria? The answer for me is no. Then also the checks and balances that you must have in a democracy. We are having issues with that. The legislature is virtually working as good as possible with the executive, whereas they are supposed to be the ones who will hold the executive in check. We need to encourage the legislature to do their job. Then the judiciary also, we must make sure that we begin to bring in men and women of integrity into the judiciary, and I'm sure we have them, and we should empower them, we should encourage them. If we have some of these things, we will see that a lot of our problems will be over. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Basharon. That was very short and concise as well. I'm going to move faster to the Iron Lady among our keynote speakers today. Not the panelists, of course. I meant among the, can I have Dr. Joe Dumaki? Let's unmute Dr. Joe, please. Dr. Joe, hold on, let's unmute you. Okay, now you're muted. You can speak.
Thank you, Dayo, for the good job. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Dayo.
Yes,
okay,
Reverend Sister.
Thank you, Dayo Israel, Mr. Governor, and the whole team, Lagos State. I really want to thank you. As fast as possible, I just want to draw a sharp comparison. In ending. The last time I met MK Abiola, I challenged him and told him that in case he will be arrested and detained, I hope he would not forget Nigerian people and the mandates. He told me, Joe, a corpse cannot run away from the undertaker. He shows determination. He shows passion. Also, on June 4, 1996, on June 3rd, I slept over in Kudirat Abiola's place. And on June 4th, I dropped a few minutes before she was killed. She encouraged me as a young girl. Joe, you've been declared wanted by the government. Go and defend your PhD thesis. I did, and I was successful because I firmly believe in what I was pursuing. So in MK Abiola and Kudirat and all others, you see people who are determined and committed. So we must agonize less and organize more. Our young ones with a population of over 33.6 million must ensure that they remain committed to the ideals of June 12. Commitment is what matters, and then being able to deliver when one says something. Finally, today, 27 years after June 12, we have long term and short term. What we need for now, that's the short term, is for all our young ones to imbibe the whole ideals of June 12. If that is done, then the death of Abiola and several others will not be in vain. I want to thank Chief MK Abiola for paying the supreme price. I want to thank Kudirat Abiola. I want to thank several others that paid the supreme price. And I want to thank all those that are in governance that are rendering selfless service, the center of excellence. I'm also proud of Lagos. I just want our youth, I want our citizens to know that today we must agree and decide to have a Nigeria that works in our lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Odumake. We're meant to go to Honorable Alake, but I don't want to go to him yet because he's going to have two duties to perform. But while we hold on, let me quickly bring on an amazing young lady. So the SASDG did a competition for young people to send in their video about why they should speak at this event, and a lot of people sent in their video, and she won the contest with a compelling message. We have her in our midst here. Her name is Ella. Ella is going to just recite a fantastic speech for us. She's the voice of the youth at today's event. Please help me unmute Ella. Ladies and gentlemen, our young Ella. Ella, you have the floor.
Hello, thank you so much. It's super nice to be here. I will just reintroduce myself. My name is Ella Forte Alila. I'm a spoken word artist, a confidence coach, and a very proud Nigerian. I've been here since it started, since the Zoom meeting started, and I've heard so much about things that I didn't even know before. I've learned so much during this 2 hours, 2 hours thereabouts, and I just feel like these people, especially Abiola, he laid his life, he paid the ultimate price because he had a dream. He wanted to see a better nation. He wanted to see a better country. And I believe that it is our duty, it's my duty as a Nigerian youth, and the duty of my generation to make sure that that price that he paid wasn't in vain. So my question to the youths today, the ones watching, the ones here right now, is what are you dreaming about, right? And what are you ready to do to make sure that your dreams become reality? So I'll just stop talking and let the spoken word do what it does best and let it speak for itself. They say democracy is a dream, and as a rule, dreams are meant for sleeping. Well, I have never been one to follow rules, so I instead dream with my eyes open, taking in the scenery, hands ready, taking notes of my strengths, mind in tune with our goals and working out ways to own it. They say we are not good enough or smart enough to make our dreams a reality. They say we are too different, too much of rebels. They call our dreams insanity. Be realistic, they say. On the path of logical thinking, your dreams are an impossibility. I can only dare to imagine the number of ideas, talents, creativity, and dreams that logical thinking has ended. So youths, be as illogical as possible. Dream dreams so big the others see it as impossible. Get things so high up that the others seem unattainable. Remember the world was square until one man's illogical discovery made it sphere. Don't ever settle for less. See, if you spend your entire life trying to be normal, playing it safe, painting inside the lines and thinking within the box, you would never know how much change you can really inspire. And I know it's hard being a dragon in a world that was made for butterflies, but you would survive. And as long as you do not let the insignificant flutter of the doubter's tiny wings douse your fire, you will thrive. So draw and paint as though the lines don't exist. Break out of the box, let go of all the limitations realistic thinking imposes. Don't dream to be someone, dream because you, my darling, are someone, but be warned. Having a dream is not enough. It is never enough. You have to work at it consistently and diligently every day. And I know Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. Remember, it's okay to fail. Just don't let that 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 failures make you give up on your dreams. Instead, go back to the mood board confidently, because you see, self-confidence is a superpower. The moment you start believing in yourself, quit overthinking, stop replaying failed scenarios and feeding the goblin of self-doubt, magic starts to happen. And I know. And in a bid to justify our childhood dreams being locked up by the grown-up lies the past regime had ingrained in our minds, and this is Nigeria, where opportunity doesn't come knocking on your door. You have to build a door leading to opportunities. This is Nigeria, where the grass is not always greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it, so make the best of it. And remember, the silence of so many dead dreams have become too loud in the world. So enough is enough. The time is now. We are tired of the horror stories and the deafening silence. We are ripping apart the scripts and writing a new one with every hand represented. We are daring to defy status quo. And I dare you to try and stop us and watch as a volcano of our unity erupts all over you, reducing your doubts to ashes, from which belief springs forth like a phoenix soaring to the skies, seated gallantly far above your limited thinking. I dare you to make a script of our flaws and inadequacies and watch as self-confidence turns it into a Grammy-winning movie, because we have learned to love the parts of ourselves that no one claps for. We dare you to say that we can't. Project your fears of failures onto us and watch as they slide off our feathers, because we know now that our unity gives us wings. We dare you, even as we dare us, to finally shape the future. Thank you.
Please, can we give Ella a big round of applause? Right about now, we're supposed to go to Mr. Lucky, but I have to crave your indulgence and that of Mr. Deputy Governor to quickly bring up a final artist for the day, and that is T.Y. Bello. And the reason, because she's actually on a shoot at the moment, but she took a permission from a client there and said she has this commitment to make and then to go back to it. So we told her this time, if we can just have T.Y. Bello for a few minutes, and then we'll continue, we'll wrap up the conversation with the eminent leaders, Asiwaju's speech that we're going to get, and Mr. Femi Hamzat. T.Y. Bello, over to you.
Hello, everyone. It's such a joy to be here. And it's been really wonderful conversations going on. And I think the most important conversation is the fact that, you know, we're not spectators. We're part of everything. We're part of this land. This land belongs to us. And as much as we'd like to lend our voice to finding solution and to exposing the ills of the land, we can also use our voice to speak light over the land so that our hearts will be full of hope. So I remember I wrote the song, The Land is Green, driving along Ozumba Mbadiwe and wondering what the future had for me in 2005 when I was going to start my business. And this same land is the land that made room for me. And this same land is the land that must make room for the future. And so if we must receive from the land, we must love the land. Not just eye or mouth service, but with our hearts. But out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So I'll share this song to you as we all sing together and declare that the land is green. Stand in the rain as the clouds go gray. The thunder roars and the earth sings. The season's just beginning. The sunlight it hides as the clouds make way. For the pouring of my blessings, I will not be afraid. I see it now, I understand, I know. So I embrace it, dance. In the rain, it's for my seeds to grow, for every prayer and every seed I've sown. The Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping back 100-fold. The land is green, it's green. Oh, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready, because the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. It's green for me. You just have to believe it. You just have to see it. It's green for you and me. So you can dare to say it. Oh, oh, oh. Standing alone can be heavy, low. But my vows I won't be breaking. Though my heart is aching, I got a word and I won't let go. It's your will I'm seeking. I'll keep on believing. I see it now, I understand, I know. So I embrace it, dance. Once again, it's time for me to grow. For every seed and every prayer I've sown, the Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping back 100-fold. The land is green, it's green. Whoa, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready, because the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. Oh, the land is green, it's green. Whoa, oh, oh, this land is green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready. The Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. Ah, da, 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 ah, ah. Hey, hey, hey. Ah, da, da, ah, ah, ah. You just have to believe. Oh, da, 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 ah, ah. We declare we will see what we say. Oh, da, 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 ah, ah. And then I love this part of the conversation. And like I said, my favorite part of this conversation is the fact that we all have our role to play. We're not just standing by and watching and commenting. The key for we are the future. And the truth is, the future that we've been waiting for is here and now. It's not coming. This is a very important time to lead. And I love the fact that we've been talking about the office of the citizen. This is an important time to lead. I am the future. I am the dream. I am the nation. I am part of this. Yes, I am so amazing. That's the least I should be. As the part of the nation changing history. So the words say, I am so amazing. That's the least I should be. A part of the nation changing history. So whatever position we take in the land, we are writing the script. We are writing the story. So if you know the song, or if you remember the song, you can sing with me. And we'll sing as one. We are the future. We are the dream. We are the nation. We are part of this. Yes, we are so amazing. That's the list we shall be. As the part of the nation changing history. How can they say that we are finished? We have just begun when we have nowhere else to run to, nowhere else to go. So get out of the way of the land of our dreams. We are the nation, we are part of this. Oh, oh, we are the nation, we are part of this. Whoa, oh, oh. Carry the song, carry the sound. The future is here. The future is here. Goodbye yesterday, tomorrow is now for the taking. The future is here. The future is here. I am the future. I am the dream. I am the nation. I am part of this. Yes, I am so amazing. That's the list I should be. As a part of the nation changing history. How can we say that we are finished? We have just begun when we have nowhere else to run to, nowhere else to go. So get out of the way of the land of my dreams. I am the nation, I am part of this. Oh, oh. I am the nation, I am part of this. Whoa, oh, oh, oh. Carry the sound, carry the sound. The future is here. The future is here. Goodbye yesterday, tomorrow is now for your taking. The future is here. The future is here. Oh, the future has. The future has come. Oh, the future has. The future has come. Oh, you are the future. The future has. The future has come. Oh, the future we have been waiting for. It's now. The future has come. We will do our part. We will do our best. Oh, oh, oh. The future has come. Oh, 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 oh. We carry the sound. We carry the sound. The future has come. We carry the sound. We carry the sound. The future has come. The future is now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for T.Y. Bello. Thank you, T.Y., in particular for doing The Future. It's one of my most favorite songs, and it reminds us, all of us emerging leaders, that we are the future. We are the dream, and the world is waiting for us. Even the scripture says the earth is waiting for the manifestations of the sons and daughters of God. Thank you so much. Moving very swiftly now, we have the remark from the national leader of the All Progressive Congress, the APC, the former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our father and a mentor to many of us and millions of Nigerians all over the world and non-Nigerians as well. Unfortunately, Asiwaju could not be with us in person, but he has sent Honorable Dele Alake to present his message. Honorable Dele Alake would present the speech and the remark of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, after which we'll have Mr. Deputy Governor present his remark. Honorable Dele Alake, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. You did say something just a while ago that I was gonna play dual role, and I took that to mean that I should have my own 1 minute of rounding off on my previous goodwill message.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, sir.
Message. I am very particular about that, which is why I brought it up, because there are 1 or 2 issues I wanted to speak to from the aggregation of views that I've heard.
Yes.
One is that let me say the last lady that sang, I must commend her. That was quite inspiring. Now, first is that I wish to speak to the younger generation about the nature of power. I heard it from 1 or 2 of the people, how they needed the space, how the older generation should give permission. And I remember how Hafsa did answer that you don't need any permission, or even Yemi that you do not need any permission. Now, there is one aphorism which says that power is not served a la carte. Nobody serves power to you on the dining table. You must go out there and grab power and use it to improve the society. If you look at the short history of Nigeria, even our founding fathers, even the sage, the revered sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who put the Western region on a higher pedestal through his progressive policies, developmental strides, and he recorded many firsts in Africa in terms of development. If you look at when they got into the political foray, they were very, very young. Same thing goes for Ahmadu Bello, same thing for Zik. They were all quite young. Now, come to the early 60s, when they were, during the First Republic, when Nigeria attained independence, even the prime minister then, how old was he? He was very young. All the actors were young because they thrust themselves on the political stage. Even the military, that was an aberration. How old was the first military head of state? How old was Yakubu Gowon? 29, 32? That was the average age. And coming to June 12, when the opportunity presented itself, and we plunged into the entire saga, and we were in the vortex of it throughout, how old were we? So the younger generation has an onerous duty to plunge themselves into the fray and use the power that they would eventually grab for themselves for the betterment of the society. Nobody will whine and pine away somewhere and then have power thrust on him. It doesn't happen that way. Secondly, the younger generation has the opportunity to actualize the hope of June 12. In actual fact, the name of the campaign of June 12, 1993 was Hope 93. That was the campaign headquarters of June 12. It was titled Hope 93. And the manifesto of June 12, which we wrote, was Farewell to Poverty. It was all geared towards hope. And now that we are lucky that it has become a national event, the younger generation of today can now actually actualize that hope, turn it and translate it to reality. That's my word for them. And believe you me, democracy is a work in progress. A nation is a work in progress. It's an ongoing concern. So today, we have achieved what I call civilian rule, not full-blown democracy. We have civilians everywhere, but we are not practicing full-blown democracy yet, because full-blown democracy has its own tenets, its own principles, its own norms, its own mores, its own values. We have not attained all of those ones yet. For instance, federalism we run a federal constitution. Federalism is an integral part of full-blown democracy. But in practice, we still run a unitarism system of government. And I'll give you a simple example. Whatever economic highfalutin ideas that you have, if you do not practice a full-blown democracy, true federalism, you are going to be circumscribed. And your economic policies, your financial engineering, social workings would be subject to the circumscription that comes from the lower paced work at the center, because you operate a unitary system. So I enjoin and I appeal to our younger generation to open up the frontiers of democracy, press forward the battle, the struggle for true federalism in Nigeria. That is only where each component unit can have its own freedom to aspire to the space. You can control your finances, you can control your vision, your progress, your developmental strides. As of today, in fact, it took, when we were in government between 1999 and 2007 in Lagos State, to fight to break the frontiers of democracy and federalism. If you had land in Lagos, if you bought property or you wanted to buy land in Lagos, you would not be able to do many things until you got to the federal government for approval. We had to fight that battle up to the Supreme Court. And today, Lagos State has control, absolute control over its planning of your environment, your local environment. You needed approval from the center. That's one of the circumscription. And it goes into all other areas, into population, into revenue generation, judicious allocation of resources. So I need, as a parting shot, I'm putting a challenge to the younger generation. Extend the frontiers of this democracy as a legacy and a honor to June 12, so that all your developmental ideas, all your economic postulations can actually be translated into reality. Thank you very much. Now to the address of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It goes thus: the election of June 12, 1993 changed Nigeria profoundly. That it would have this deep and positive effect was not always certain. Many people labored, struggled, sacrificed, and died for democracy. They fought not that we would have democracy day, but that Nigeria might exist as a democracy every day. When I say democracy, I mean more than that we conduct periodic elections. Democracy means that we adhere to and live by the enlightened premise that all human beings are of essential value and are possessed of fundamental rights and liberties which cannot be arbitrarily taken away or denied. Democracy means that everyone has the right to peacefully influence and determine who governs them and how their government works. It means that we all have a right to pursue our ambitions and aspirations, so as long as our actions do not wrongfully impede the aspirations and hopes of others. We have the right to believe, think, and pray as we deem fit. In a democratic system, nobody can dictate your beliefs and your thoughts unless, of course, you voluntarily permit them to do so. These are things that true democracy means, and they are what we celebrate today. In this, we dare not forget how we got to this point. Planting the seedlings of democracy required much toil and sacrifice. Many potent forces tried to prevent both the planning and the planting and the harvesting. People like late Dr. Beko Ransome Kuti, late Gani Fawehimi, Baba Omojola, late Pa Rewane, late Pa Enahoro, late Baba Jashin, Pa Abraham Adesoya, late Papa Onosoya of Ayepe, Baba Adebanjo, that's Chief Ayo Adebanjo, Professor Wole Soyinka, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, my humble self, Femi Falana, members of the civil society groups, student activists, media, and others fought hard and struggled mightily on our behalf. Many laid down their lives that we may have these brighter moments. Many people who we do not even know gave of themselves and lost life and limb to bring this moment to pass. On this day, therefore, we duly honor such patriots. We remember them and commend their sacrifice. We mark this day that we not take this good form of government or their august labor for granted. We must keep and nurture democracy, not for its own sake, but for ours. Bashorun Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola stood fast and strong, despite the enormous pressure against him. Those who hated democracy and equality tried to break his spirit and make him lose hope that democracy would ever come to our land. Abiola withstood it all and held to a dream. They could not crush his spirit, so they took his body. They did not allow his dream turn to reality, but victory was still his because he held fast with uncommon determination and principle. In spirit, therefore, Abiola was truly the very first president of this democratic republic. Here, I must commend President Buhari for having the political courage to make June 12 a Democracy Day. It would have been easier to let things stay as they were. But President, realizing the import of June 12 and understood that this day, more than other or any other, best symbolized our national pursuit of democracy. Despite political opposition, the president helped to set the record straight by making today, June 12, our National Democracy Day. I also congratulate our various governors, including Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State. They must all continue to do their level best to make the desired difference in the lives of our people. We are recording appreciable progress on the political front. The executive and legislature are working harmoniously to deliver the programs and policies required for people to live a better and more democratic existence. The courts are doing better in protecting the rights of individual Nigerians. The press is free in a large extent and robust, although like in any nation, we must remain vigilant and do even more to elevate freedom of thought and expression. The civil society remains alive and active and holding government accountable to the people. The government too has continued to exhibit tolerance of constructive criticism and demonstrate endurance in a bid to nurture our democracy. A relentless battle is being waged against corruption. This fight would have been impossible or ineffective under a military dictatorship. If we look at where we were and where we are now, we have cause to be thankful. We have left dictatorship forever behind. We see new and better ways to define and execute our democratic journey. Democracy Day and our commemoration of it must not descend into empty ritual. We as a people have chosen democracy as our preferred form of governance, not because it is easy to hold and make to work. We choose democracy because it is the most humane and representative form of government the human mind has ever devised. I therefore wish all Nigerians a memorable Democracy Day and implore you all to be safe and act with compassion towards one another. Signed, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's his message. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this junction, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Deputy Governor. But before I do, because after Mr. Deputy Governor speak, you really don't have the right to. Actually, even after both Mr. Governor and Deputy Governor speak, you shouldn't be speaking. But I want to crave their indulgence to say a big thank you to all our speakers and our young people and people who have put some effort to do this. At this junction, I want to hand over to our leader, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, who is also the mentor of the planning committee and helped us under the leadership of Mr. Governor to make today's event a success. Mr. Deputy Governor, sir.
Thank you very much, Tayo. On behalf of the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, I'd like to thank every one of us that have spent close to 3 hours on this platform to gather and talk about the issues in relation to June 12th and about our country. As we can all see, we gathered a whole lot of people, Feranmi, Ella, everybody from the from the civil society, our fathers, past actors, present actors, all of us gathered together to have this discussion. And this is what our government is all about, to bring people from different areas of life together and, you know, at zero-sum cost. You know, so it's about us coming together and delivering the best for our people. So we want to thank everybody again for this, for coming together to talk to us and to also answer some of the questions, because as we all know, June 12 answers some questions for us as a country. We were able to come together as a people to vote in what everybody says is clearly freest election in our history. And so it's our bragging right. And we thank God that today, at least, we are able to celebrate that. We must thank everybody, Afsat, Cherry Blair, Yemi Ademalekun, Sheun Onigbide, Bashir Delemo Modu, Professor Wole Soyinka, and so many others, and Bondele Alake for coming together to talk to us and to answer some of the questions that people have raised. I think it was Yemi that mentioned data and the essence of data in planning. Well, we cannot agree more with you, because what you cannot measure, you cannot really manage it. And so data is extremely essential to us in Lagos. And that's why one of the first things that Mr. Governor did when we came in was to start the 3,000 kilometer fiber infrastructure in Lagos. So one of the things that actually makes a city develop is how you can manage your broadband. And that's one of the things that we've been able to do. So Lagos, as a state, we have the orthophoto, we have the base map of every inch of land in Lagos, every inch of land. And on top of that, we can now overlay our health institutions, our schools. So with that, we've been able to start building that. So we agree with you, data is important. That's one of the reasons why our registration agency is one of the things that we are promoting. So that we have data about our land, we have data about the population, where people reside, and so on and so forth. Also, Bashir Delemo Modu spoke about some of the things that you are seeing in Ghana now. Well, the truth is that we have 27 vocational centers in Lagos, 27, and we have 5 technical schools. Those 5 technical schools today has 8,122 students. In fact, one of the things that is in front of me right now that I can show you is this big document. If you can read it, is vocational school. That's one of the things that we are trying. We just finished a meeting before now that we are pushing to take to Mr. Governor. So how do we push that 8,122 to 20,000? That's exactly what. So we are doing a whole lot in that space, and it's something that we can all share together with you so that you can see what we are doing. So just to answer some of those questions and to say that the government of Lagos, based on our team's agenda, we are pushing a whole lot of things like Mr. Onigbide said, well, the revenue is tight, but we understand that. We know that we must cut costs, but we must deliver for our people. So I want to thank everybody again for coming together, spending close to 3 hours on this very, very important, especially our young people. As we can see, a lot of people participated. We brought in students from various schools so that they can understand the history. But I also want to please appeal to people like Mr. Dele Alake and Senator Ojudu. Please also write your memo. Let us read from you. It's important to build a museum, but I can't send a museum to my cousin in Accra or the son that is schooling somewhere in Unsuka. So, but I can send a book. They can read a book online. So it's important that all of us that participated in this process, we also write our book. So, and that goes also for Bashir Delemo Modu. Let us write something so that younger generation can also see. The museum is fantastic, it's good, but our books will also give us something we can keep in our library, read, pass to younger generation. So I want to thank everybody for coming together on this day. Happy Democratic Day for everybody. Thank you, and God bless everybody. Thank you, God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Deputy Governor. Thank you so much, Mr. Governor, for the support that you've given to all of us to put this event together. Please allow me to recognize the support of the planning team member, Shalakwe Amon, the SASDG, Mr. Tokumbo Wahab, the SA Education, Mr. Tobo Swalake, the SA Innovation and Creativity, and my humble self, supported also by Mr. Gboyega Akoshile, the CPS, and all the other stakeholders and all the media team from the governor's office who ensure that we're able to spread this around across. This has been a fantastic day, and we have learned a lot. We have learned from the past, and we're now ready and energized to take over the future, because the future is in every one of us. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us. If you can, go to your chat and just say a big thank you to BOS and KOH for always putting young people first in development in Lagos State, for putting youth and women first. This is the beginning of many of this kind of conversation. We look forward to more in the future under the leadership of our governor and deputy governor, BOS and KOH. Have a great day, everyone, and we wish you the best of everything that you desire in this year. And remember, wash your hand, use your nose mask, and be the best. Mr. Governor, you have something to say to us? Okay, sir. Thank you so much. God bless you, everyone. Tomas, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Thank you, Feromi.
Thank you.
Tomas. Are you in the chat? I think at this stage, we can all leave the room. The event is over. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Oh, yeah, sorry, I was meant to also appreciate Amory, the youth council, all the student leaders from across campuses in Lagos who have also been mobilized to participate and attend the event. I'm going to recognize that as well. And of course, all the young leaders who are tweeting and making sure that the social media is going on well. So for those of us who are still here, I'm going to share a video of MK Abiola's speech.
As president, it's not my business what religious color anybody wears. In ITT, in Concord, in RCN, in Summit Oil, in the bakeries, in the bookshop, in the presses, and so we employ people purely on merit, round pegs in round holes, period. There are so many people who work for me whose hometown I don't even know. I don't even know them anyway. I don't have to know them because we want to be objective. If I could do that in my own small business, I think Nigeria has every reason to expect from me a clear vision when it comes to the management of the affairs of the country as a whole. Quite obviously, we need to earn more place policies that will broaden the foreign exchange earning capacity of the nation. We will pursue exports and local sourcing for industry. We shall aggressively pursue the implementation of the LNG project. If the logjam on the gas project has not already been broken by this administration, by this current one. We shall maximize the nation's return from oil by turning over future investment to the private sector and by removing the complex structures which makes NMPC's accountability and assessment of efficiency almost impossible. You see, there are so many layers upon layers built on this simple thing, crude oil. I don't even know whether it's oil or some mystery around it that is taking the money from the central bank. You see, I think we would demystify. In my government, the daily export of crude will be published, and the price at which it is sold. You see, the issue of is simple. You see, public things are not private. We have National Assembly now. They will do their job. They review the expenditure of government and will hold public hearing. We will no longer be hearing of monetary circulars from central bank without the bankers being told. The bankers will have to be involved. You see, like I said, every effort has been in the past to shake people's head in their absence. It must stop. I mean, it won't be allowed. I mean, the cumulative wisdom of all the bankers would have seen us out of the problem we have in this country today. But some people, they come from IMF or they come from World Bank. What do they know about Nigeria? You see, the most brilliant doctor in Norway might not have seen malaria in his life. So bringing him here and imposing him as a medical director is like sending everybody to the grave. You see, I think all that nonsense will stop. I rely on Nigerians to keep Nigeria running efficiently. And that's what there will be a few foreigners who will be recommended by our people, not those who will be imposed by some foreign authorities over us. We are an independent republic under God, or aren't we? I've always known that the events of the last few weeks have, in fact, enabled people to make up their mind a lot more firmly. In fact, it has increased tremendously the public support. Nigerians are ready for democracy. Nigeria have elected their president, and Nigerians are not prepared to go for another election. The truth of the matter is that you do not have two sunrises in one day. Even in Africa, the sun rises only once a day, and that is the way it is. The people have made it very clear that that is what they want. And I'm sure the purpose is to let government know that the people are very serious in what they are saying.
Do you have any fears that some members of the SDP might give in to the new political arrangement that is being proposed?
There's nothing like that. You see, given to what? What do they give in to? There's nothing to give in to. The election was pronounced fair, free, fair, and peaceful by the international observers and by the government-owned observers. So, what is there to give in to? As a matter of fact, they do not see any reason to prolong the democratic process anymore. And the SDP as a party is very clear. The executive committee made it very clear last week. The meeting in Benin too has made it very, very clear, really doubly clear, that there's no question of the party going back. To go back is to tell the Nigerian people that we are not a serious party. We are a very serious party. There are, we understand, a few officers who are not happy about the result of the election. But a few officers cannot be more important than the generality of Nigerian people. 14 million Nigerian people voted in the last election.
more than voted at the National Assembly election. And as a proportion, probably more than I voted in the United States election, presidential election. So that in itself is a massive mandate. And I have 58.9% of the votes. I won in 20 states, and I won the 1/3 of the votes in 28 out of 30 states, and at the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja. There's nothing else.
Do you think the president will backpedal?
Well, it's not a matter of backpedaling. It's a matter of a misunderstanding. He was not accurately informed. For example, there were talks about bribes there were allegations of bribery to NEC. I've already said anybody with proof of that allegation should go to court. Bribery of an electoral officer, of a public officer, is an offense, is really a felony under the law of Nigeria. The matter should be taken to a criminal court. And secondly, there were allegations that the turnout was low. That has been debunked. There were more voters during the presidential election than during the National Assembly elections. So that is not true either. There were allegations that the judiciary is being put into jeopardy or into ridicule. We were able to prove that neither of the two candidates went before any court. It was an illegal organization supposedly being sponsored by the government itself that took matters to court. That has nothing to do with us. There were allegations that large sums of money were spent, 2.1 billion naira. That was not true. I've denied it. There's no limit to the expenditure that can be incurred by any candidate in the presidential election or in any election under the law of Nigeria. All these are just trumped up charges, excuses as it were, not reasons.
What message do you have, as a last question, to your teeming supporters across the country?
That there is plenty of hope, that there's no doubt at all that the president and the military government will leave office on the 27th of August. And there might be need to meet and discuss some details. And I'm always ready and willing to discuss details. This is not a civilian versus military situation. A preponderant majority of the Nigerian military and their family voted overwhelmingly for me in the last election. So there was no question of the military. There are quite a few, just a few officers who probably are unhappy about the changes. We will give them all the assurances they need. There is room for every Nigerian, especially the top officers who have been trained at tremendous cost to the taxpayers of Nigeria. The list of people which people have alleged have been prepared by me for dismissal or retirement is not true. I have no such list. We need all the soldiers we have in the Nigerian army, especially the senior ones who have been trained at considerable cost to the taxpayers of our country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Good.